What's up, everybody? Welcome to the I Found a Friend podcast, where we're your hosts, helping you navigate life's journeys. It's your host, Eric Diggs.
Jordan Diggs.
John Diggs.
John Diggs, back in the stew.
All right, yeah, let's run that, through that. John, where were you? Tell the podcast.
Where was I not, honestly?
All right.
Give him the quick synopsis, bro.
Essentially, I was going to South Africa, but missed the flight due to weather delays, ended up in Atlanta. Atlanta took me to Paris. Paris took me to South Africa. I was there for 10 days, so.
Yeah, I was like, that's the longest you've been out of the country. How were you feeling by the end of that trip?
Ready to come home. I missed y'all, for real.
The boy was in Europe, Africa. Now he back in the States.
Feel me?
Well-traveled man in, 10 days?
Yeah.
Three different countries? I'm trying to get like
Three
you,
different
bro.
countries in 10 days is kind of absurd.
That is funny. All right, guys. Well, welcome back to the podcast. As we already said today. Well, let me rephrase this. It's back to school season. It is officially August, which is crazy because I feel like this summer flew by.
Disclaimer, none of us are in school anymore, so
Yeah. So this
thank
is
God.
crazy. But we are all recent college graduates and we've been through school. So we just kind of want to talk you guys through it. And with this episode, we're going to start out with high school. So I don't know what we're going to title this, but I kind of like the title, How to Survive High School.
Make high school sound like it's a...
Dun, dun, dun.
Right, bro. Bro, we're watching way too many movies. High school is not like any of the movies you see. I can guarantee you that, first of all.
It depends on where you live, actually.
That is
So
true.
let's not do that.
Nah, but a lot of these movies be like OD, like with bullying and
Some schools like that, bro.
yeah, but it'd be like mad cheesy with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like,
I guess it's subjective.
I honestly feel like high schoolers are more mature today than they were. I don't know. When we were growing up, I feel like the world is maturing faster and faster. I have this conversation with my friend a lot. I feel like younger people are maturing more faster just because of like the accessibility of the media now, and it's just like a lot out there.
I don't know if younger people are actually maturing faster than normal, more so than they're being exposed to more at a younger age than they normally would be in the past.
Do you not think that a byproduct is that is more mature?
Not,
or
necess-
just
not
an
necessarily.
overload of information?
I think you're just exposed to stuff too soon, and it makes you have to think ahead of where you are now. You know, it's not necessarily like just because.
No, I agree with that because like if you talk to high school, their maturity kind of
It fluctuates.
it feels different. You can tell the difference between like someone who's been in high school than someone
Okay.
who's in college. Like you can tell that maturity difference, but I feel like high schoolers know more than
I see what you're saying.
in the past. Yeah.
Right, and that's the problem. Like I was talking to some friends, and they're in their 30s, and they have their late 30s, and they have a high school kid, and because they're exposed to so much more now than the typical high schooler would have been 20, 30 years ago, they think they know everything, and it's like you haven't lived enough life to really know everything. You might know facts, but you don't know what it's like living life, and so having that wisdom, having that experience, I think that's what helps with maturity. Like you can have knowledge, but you need experience and wisdom to go along with that to really equate to maturity, in my opinion.
I think that's really good. But yeah, let's just take ourselves back to high school because we haven't been in high school in almost 5-6 years, which is crazy. How would you guys say our high school experience was? This is also really crazy. We all went to school together at one point in time.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's weird to me. It's just like I feel like because we all went to different colleges, it's weird to have had growing up going to school with my brothers.
Kind of did that for most of our life.
I mean,
I
I
know.
think it's pretty typical for siblings to go to the same school, especially
Yeah.
as close to age as we are. But yeah,
Not only same school, like some of us, we had like classes together, John.
That is true.
I mean, y'all are twins, right?
Eric played the same sports,
Don't do that. Don't do that. No, I'm just saying, just putting ourselves back into like that high school, mindset. Like, I feel like high school is just like such a unique point in time. I don't know. It's just like weird. Like now going through college and now being a young adult outside of school, like high school's like in like school in general, like from lower school all the way to high school. It's like the only time where like you're around the same people every single day. Like you're guaranteed to see your friends every single day,
Right.
for the most part.
And it's like a lot of first happens in high school. I mean, like teenager, get your driver's license, start driving for the first time, eventually turn 18, usually right before you graduate. And so like it's a lot of change that happens so quickly, all within the high school bubble. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, like I felt like during high school, everything felt like the biggest thing in the world. Whereas now, like none of that stuff really matters.
Well, I don't want to downplay the high school experience because, like, when you're at that age, that stuff is really real to you. I mean, like, as you do grow older, like, more different problems become real to you. But, like, when you're that age, that stuff is real to you. And I was reading an article that says, like, parents need to understand that high schoolers nowadays are more stressed than they ever have been. Why do you guys think that is true?
The genetic aspect of it, like stress gets passed down from generation to generation, and it kind of like, you feel me, snowballs. So whenever they talk about, oh, you guys haven't really been through much, it's like maybe not, but the genetic disposition to stress is playing a major component into it. And like you said, like, I don't know, it just seems like there's so much pressure to get everything right, to get everything figured out. You see people on social media in a high school age going around driving cars that cost more than houses. Feel me? Like, it seems like they got their whole life set up, and then you feel like you're behind compared to the 6'5", 5-star hooper, got every college in the world that he wants to go to, or that one social media influencer chick making $1 million a year from TikTok, like crazy stuff. People weren't experiencing that. And so it's like, okay, I got to compete with my peers. Then I got to make sure that I'm making good grades to be good enough to go to college. Like all of these different factors on top of the fact that, you know, your parents might have had a stressful life that they passed on to you genetically. So,
yeah,
I think it goes back to like what I was saying earlier, just people being exposed to more at a young age. And, you know, you shouldn't be forced to make adult decisions in high school. Like you need to be able to enjoy your childhood, your teenage years, and be able to live within that realm. But like John said, social media, it's exposing people to things that, you know, 20, 30 years ago, you couldn't get exposed to. And so the comparison aspect is real. And out of that comparison comes stress because like, I didn't even know that I was behind this bad in life until I saw what these people are able to do or what they're accomplishing or how they're going viral. I'm not going viral. Or sometimes social media can be bad in the sense that you are going through a tough time. And, you know, with these algorithms, a lot of times when you're going through a tough time, you're going to like content or watch content that helps you relate to that because you feel like you relate to that. And so the algorithm sees, oh, you like these kinds of videos. And then your feed kind of becomes more negative. And that negativity does something to you.
I think those are both really good points. And the article did mention like social media and that like pressure, like that social pressure. Another thing that it was like really mentioning was like, you just got to think about the responsibilities of a high schooler. You're like, oh, what responsibilities do a high schooler have? Well, when you're in high school, your aim is to like figure out kind of like get through high school and figure out what you want to do next. So like if you want to go to college, right, you want to prepare yourself to be the best college applicant possible. So what does that look like? That looks like joining extracurricular activities, right? So you're already going to school for 7 to 8 hours a day. Now you're doing extracurriculars, and that might include playing a sport on top of that. So you got 8 hours of school, and then you got to do a sport after that, and then you got homework on top of that. I'm like, how did I even juggle all of this stuff in high school? Like, that's crazy because, like, in college, I went to, like, 3 classes a day, and that did not take up most of my time, you know? But, like, you're going to 8 hours in a day, you're playing a sport afterwards, you're trying to get into college, and you want to have a social life, too, because, like, you're still pretty young. So they're saying, like, college students are more stressed because, like, there's more pressure.
College or high school?
I mean, high school students. I'm so sorry. High school students are more stressed nowadays because, like, there's just so much pressure on them to figure all these things out. And as you said, like, you're in a time of transition, right? Like, you're trying to get your driver's license. You're maturing more into, like, your adult self in a sense. So, like, you want to have that independency, but also you're still young, so you don't really have that independency that you want. So it's just, like, there's like a million things being thrown at you at once. So high school can be a pretty chaotic time.
So how do you pivot? How do you survive the stress of high school?
I think that's a great question. Like, what was our experiences? Like, what did you do with high school when you were going? Because you know the realities of all these pressures.
Yeah, waking up at 5:30 for school is absolutely ridiculous. I
Can't
don't know.
believe we did that.
But
I don't know who made that leap.
You don't know different because that's
Right,
We just
it's
thought that was
normal.
it. We thought that was the norm.
Yeah.
I guess the main thing for me would be being organized, staying on top of my work, and the understanding that I'll be okay. Like you said, it's very real to you at the time, but when you look back on it a week later, a month later, did that test really matter? Did that quiz really matter? Did that homework really matter? That, you know what I'm saying? You were spending hours stressing about, and you can stress yourself out about a lot of things that don't matter. So when people ask me if I'm stressing about things, a lot of it is like me. I'm just like, not really. I did what I can, or I'll do what I can, and from that point, I'll just give it to God, or I'll let it work itself out.
Sorry, not to interrupt you, but what if they're saying, well, it doesn't matter. If I make a bad grade, I'm not going to get a good grade in this class, and then I'm not going to get into the college I want to.
It's kind of a thought pattern that you have to monitor, right? Like, I'm not saying just do whatever. Give your best effort, of course. But what I am saying is one bad moment doesn't define who you are. One bad moment doesn't define your life. Right. You're not making a good grade in this class is not going to be the end all be all of your entire high school career or even your collegiate career. So it's just like putting things in perspective and understanding that, hey, I'll be okay as long as I give my best. A lot of people just don't give their best. I tell people all the time, it is so hard to fail a class, high school or college, if you actually show up and do the work. At the very least, you'll get a C. I'm a firm believer in that.
I know. I think it can be hard for some people too, though, because you're like, okay, don't stress about it. You know, like one bad decision, but like, what if your parents are the people who have like putting that pressure on you? Like, it is the end of the world if you make a bad grade. You're gonna get grounded. You can't hang out with your friends, you know? So it's just like, how do you navigate that thought process? But I love what you're saying. Like, just know, like, it isn't the end of the world if you make a bad grade, but also, you know, try your best.
Me, I have thick skin, so like, I'll shrug it off. Now I know everybody can't do that, so I guess you'd have to find whatever works for you. But for me, it's like, I'll listen to what somebody is saying and take the advice, and then I'll just roll with the blows too. Because, you know, football, you get coached at, you get yelled at, wrestling, etc. So like, I look at it as kind of like they have good intentions for you, and there are repercussions for mistakes. But at the end of the day, if I do my part, then I'll be okay. Once again, like I should be fine.
Yeah,
I think it's like too understanding, which is hard to do when you're in high school and stuff. But your parents want what's best for you, and they're limited from their point of view of what, you know, they wish they would have had or things they've experienced in their life. But at the same time, you also have the mentality that you're not boxed in. You're only boxed in if you allow yourself to be boxed in, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, if you did your best, then that's all you can do. And you're going to have a plethora of opportunities throughout life. And so don't ever feel bad because maybe you didn't get one that you were shooting for, or maybe something fell through, because there's always another opportunity if you look for it. And so you use high school as opportunities to learn, to grow, and to cultivate. Now, with your parents and stuff like that, there's only so much you can do while you're living in their home. You have to respect the rules. You have to listen to them. You have to apply what they're saying, or at least try, because that is the environment you are raised in, and that's the tough situation that you can't change. But the biggest thing you can do, like we're trying to say, is like, make sure you take care of yourself mentally. Make sure you have a proper perspective, and don't take it as the end all be all. It's not the end all be all. Continue to learn and grow.
I would say balance is key, but another big thing that just came to mind is understanding academic success does not define your entire life either.
I love that.
There's other routes that you can go outside of academics, and if you're not good at school, it's not the end of the world. Because like, you get brought up in this system where you're forced to go to school, and then you realize there's so many things where you don't use what you learned in school where you could still be successful. Trade school is a big one. Learning how to weld, being a mechanic, electrician, etc. Those make plenty of money. I'm talking upwards 6 figures, and it's not academic, right? And then we put so much pressure on doctors, lawyers, etc., putting yourself in more debt as a high school student when that might not be your strong suit or your, you know what I'm saying, like your skill set. So find things that you're good at and understand that you don't have to be good at academics. As long as you have a plan for yourself, it doesn't have to be academics. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I definitely love that. And just to piggyback off of what my brothers are saying, I think there's like two different people, like two different types of high schoolers you can be talking about. Like, there's some people who really aren't good at academics, so don't necessarily care about them the most. And to them, I would definitely recommend, like, okay, what do you care about outside of academics? You know, like find that hobby, that passion that you can pour time into when you're after school, or like even during school hours, you can form a club, you know. I think that's like a really good way to help you navigate like what are you actually interested in, you know, that's not academic. And then there's other high schoolers who are really like want to go to like the top colleges in the country. Like, what advice do you have for them?
To my athletes, although I did talk about not really making academics the end all be all, do your work. Especially if you want to go to school, like they look at your transcript, they look at your grades. If you want to have a good shot of making sure that you make it to the next phase of life, that is college, make sure your grades are straight. But to people that are trying to grow and excel, I would say a big thing for me was not putting other people's pressures or their expectations on myself. Like I went to TSU, I got a college degree, and I came from a private school, and a lot of people didn't understand what an HBCU was. They didn't understand why I chose the school that I was going to. And like, oh, you don't want to go to X, Y, and Z. College is what you make of it. So don't force somebody to make you feel like you have to go to a certain school or feel like you have to have this certain college experience. People put themselves thousands of dollars in debt to go to this dream school or to the school that everybody else is going to, might not even enjoy it, or they do enjoy it, but now you're fighting, like we talked about before, climbing that uphill mountain for the rest of your life just because you wanted 4 years, 4 quick years. And you hear it all the time, high school, college, oh, it'll go by fast, it's the best years of your life, etc. It goes by fast. I don't know how else to explain it. Like the fact that I'm graduated now is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to go to a top prestigious university in the country, you can do it. But you're going to have to put in a lot of work. You're going to need to take AP classes consistently throughout your time. You're going to score well on those classes. You're going to need, you know, if you're not playing sports, you're going to need that 4.0, 4.4, you know, GPA. You're going to need to excel well on your ACT or your SAT. But at the same time, I think a lot of times, like, the best way to make sure that you're able to do all that and not overload yourself is to make sure you don't put too much pressure on yourself. A lot of times people just have, like John said, those external pressures, and it actually keeps you from doing your best. Take your time with it. Make sure you lean on your teachers and professors heavy. Build relationships with them, because they're going to be the main people to help you get to where you want to go. They're going to tell you, hey, take this class. Hey, come in here. Hey, fix this, do this. I'll help you do this. I'll write you a letter of recommendation in the future. Also lean on your guidance counselors, and they have a lot of advice and a lot of resources that you can tap into. Do extracurricular things, because these top prestigious schools, they don't just care about people that are well in the classroom. They also care about people that are giving back to the community, people that have a well-rounded skill set. So what else are you doing outside of school to make yourself stand out even more? If you're an athlete, yeah, it is a lot easier, but you still have to put in the work. You need at least a 3.5 GPA to really do what you want to do. You do need to do well on your standardized test as well. But I'm giving you guys advice because I went to Cornell, so that's what it took for me. I was an athlete, so that helped out a lot. But it's possible, but it is a lot of work. But also lean on your support system around you.
Yeah, I love that advice. And another thing that you're saying, like if you do want to go to college in general, it's important to build the good work habits, because from my college experience, I knew people who like didn't really do that well in high school, and now that they're in college, they didn't have that work ethic, so it was so much harder for them to be motivated to do well in college, you know, because like in college, you don't have as much pressure on you in terms of people forcing you to go to class or like get good grades. You know, it's like really on you. So if you develop that work ethic, those work skills in high school, it'll set you up so like greatly for college. And I know like all of us, like we all had like over 4.0 GPAs in high school. So I feel like our college experience went more smoothly in terms of academics, because we were just like used to, you know, going to class. We were used to putting in the effort to do our homework and all of the stuff that's needed to have like good academic excellence in college. So yeah, like build that academic excellence now. John, you said another thing, like where you go to college, like it matters, but like it's not the end of the world if, I don't know, if you don't get into the most prestigious, best college in the United States. That's not the end of the world. It really, your college experience is what you make out of it, right? So I didn't get into I didn't go to like my top college choice, but like I still had a great college experience, because it really is about the relationships you form, like the people you meet. So with that said, you can take that stress and pressure off of yourself. Like, I need to go to this college because, like, even if you don't get into like your top one, you will still be fine, and you can still like have like the best college experience.
I think a lot of times people want to go to these top colleges because, you know, you want to make a lot more money, you want to get the high paying job. One thing I want you to understand, especially if you're in high school, to set yourself up better, it's truly not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Facts.
Start building a network. Start finding people in fields or different industries that you know that you would be interested in, and start surrounding yourself with those people. Reach out to those people in your circle and your family that do certain things and ask them like different tips that you can either research or get different experiences in order to apply yourself in that area and also develop relationships with those people. Those relationships is what's going to get you into the door that you want to get into down the future. It's not always about the information, because I know a lot of people that are really smart and they didn't get the opportunity because they didn't know anybody in that circle to give them the opportunity. I know some people that weren't the smartest or didn't go to the top school, but because they knew somebody, they got the opportunity, and once they got the opportunity, they excelled. So set yourself up to get opportunities by building community, because with community comes opportunity.
I would say also, like you said, take advantage of the community that you have. Fail now while you have that support net, because when you get to college, when you get to the real world, it's not going to be the same. And then lastly, I want to pivot from like an academic standpoint to more of a social standpoint, but take the ACT or SAT as much as you can. That's one thing that a lot of people miss out on. Take it as early as you can and as much as you can. I remember the first time I took it, I was mentally fried for the rest of the day. And then I went to a lesson and I was able to increase my score by 2 points. And your ACT and SAT will do wonders for you in terms of college.
I might put a pause on this one, because you know that there's a lot of colleges are taking away ACT, SAT scores because they're realizing it doesn't really equivalent to who you are as a student.
Yeah, it's more about being a good test taker than like how smart you are.
It really is. But like, as you said, like if your college does like require that, do it as much as possible, because each time we did it, we improved.
Mm-hmm. But I was just going to say, how do you guys suggest surviving socially, right? Because we went to a different high school, so our experience is going to be very different from most, but we went to a private school, so the demographics were very one-sided in terms of diversity. But what would you guys say?
Yeah, I would say definitely I would say get involved in a bunch of different things, because I feel like that's how you find your people the best. I remember like I did sports, but I also was into like theater, and I was also into art, and because I did all of these different things, I was able to meet people from different, I guess, areas in high school, and I was able to form like those really good connections. But I do remember like my freshman year going into sophomore year, I struggled a lot socially in terms of having friends in general. I just felt like alone all of the time. And with that, in the way that I got over that was like I just put myself out there more. You know, like people I wanted to be friends with and I necessarily wasn't friends with, I would just go up to them like, hey, can I get lunch with you guys today? It can be hard navigating those friendships and like relationships, especially if you're not a part of a sports team. I feel like if you're a part of a sports team, it's a little bit more easy to make those friendships. But if you're not in that, it's just like really aligning your passion with who you are. Because I feel like if you're really into math, you're gonna meet other people who are really into math, like by joining math club and all that fun stuff. So
yeah, I would agree with Jordan. It really is just give yourself a lot of different opportunities and different perspectives by doing different things. Don't box yourself in high school. Don't limit yourself to one thing. You want to say something?
Yeah, another thing I was gonna say is like, don't change yourself to impress anybody. I feel like it's so easy, especially in high school, to feel like you need to do certain things to be cool, right? You need to go to this party and drink alcohol or do X, Y, and Z, but like really stick to your values and stick to who you are, because at the end of the day, people will respect you more if you're sticking to, your values and who you are rather than trying to fit in with them.
And that goes a long way. That goes with any phase in life. Like, don't change who you are to try to fit in certain circles to be with other people, because eventually it's going to become exposed. Like, that's not you. You don't belong if you really don't belong. But if you come in everywhere with, this is who I am, people are going to accept you for who you are eventually. And it's a lot easier and a lot more comfortable to live true to yourself than trying to pretend to be something every single day. That adds a lot of stress right there.
Facts.
If you wake up every day and you're like, all right, gotta act like this to fit in this group, but it's not really what I like, it's not really who I am, that's gonna be very stressful in the long run as well. So
See, I would agree because I felt like I wasn't necessarily my true self until like my senior year. And a big part of that is understanding when you're not your true self, people get accustomed to the fake you. And like Eric said, that can be exhausting to keep up. And this is important to understand because once you graduate from high school, a lot of the people that you aim to impress or aim to hang out with aren't going to be there. Everybody goes to college or they start living life. And so if you don't have genuine friends, if you want your genuine self, these are not people that A, you're going to want to take with you, or B, going to be there for you at your lowest moments when you are in college or when you are living life. And so for me, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I want you to understand, like, most people are not taking more than 5 friends from high school through the rest of their life. And 5 is a stretch.
that's a fact.
And it can be like kind of hard to understand because like when you're in high school, you're like, oh, of course, like I'm gonna have Becky and John, you know, all of these people are going to be my friends for life. And yeah, like they could be, but like realistically, like after high school, life really does pull you apart from these people who you saw every single day, right? Like a lot of them are going to move to different states and go to different colleges and start different careers. And like social media makes it easier to keep up with people. But I don't know, like as we were saying, like the main point of this is like, don't try to change yourself or impress someone who 5 years down the line, you're probably not even gonna be in any communication with. And like we've all like experienced this. Yeah, even yeah, we've all experienced this, like where we went off to college and like people we thought we were always gonna be close with, it just didn't pan out. And I think that's another thing about life that's important to realize. It's like it's okay to lose people along the way because like people come and people go, and that's just a part of life. So that's okay, and it's just like something you have to accept.
Another thing too, I would say is relationships. A lot of people want to date during high school, and I honestly do believe that I wish we could have dated in high school. However, what I will say is a lot of people are immature in high school. Of course, you can have the story of the high school sweetheart. You guys make it through high school, college, get married, etc. That's it's an exception to the rule. A lot of people that you're meeting, once again, we talked about maturity. They're not mature enough to handle or maintain a relationship. So you should expect people to lack communication, to lack understanding, to lack empathy, to move weird, to move in a way that's not necessarily the best. So when it comes to relationships, if you're holding on to hurt from somebody who hurt you in high school, understand you are dealing with a literal child, someone whose brain wasn't developed. And so like you can't apply what happened to you in high school to the rest of everybody for the rest of your life. And yeah, people are immature and they're going to move very immature. So before you take the time to invest and get your heart attached to somebody, just understand they're going to do things that you're probably not going to understand, not going to agree with, might end up hurting you. And at the end of the day, it's your choice if you decide to, you know, pursue that. But
And this goes full circle to what we was talking about at the beginning. Like, are people really more mature in high school? Obviously, like he's saying, like everybody's trying to figure out themselves and trying to figure out what they're going to do, figure out who they are and what they're going to pursue. And so in that's a lot of gray areas, and you can hurt a lot of people in that process of you trying to figure out stuff for yourself. And so, like you said, don't carry those experiences with you going forward in terms of like that hurt and pain and project on everybody else, but just understand that everybody's in the same boat mentally. Everybody's trying to do the same thing. Everybody has the same pressures. Yes, some people got dealt a better deck of cards than others, but at the end of the day, everybody still has to figure out what they're going to do and who they're going to be.
Yeah, that's huge. And I know we were saying stay true to yourself, but like another thing that's also true is like don't be afraid to grow. Because I know like John, you starting high school ended a totally different personality
yeah,
from you ending high school. And that's just what happens as you grow and you mature into like this adult that you become, you know, like you do change. Do you want to kind of explain that evolution for the
golly, bro. Looking back as a man, I don't think that who I even became at the end of the high school was somebody I could be proud of, but I just got more mature. I had once again, been through situations where I saw people fall off that I would thought would always be there, treated me very weird, gone through just different experiences, encounters with the dynamic that we had in high school, being surrounded by mostly white people and then black students being a handful. So I just saw people in a different light, and it kind of got me overboard into the don't care about what people think, don't care about what people say to you. You can say whatever, blah, 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 blah.
You were a savage. They used to call you.
Yeah, it was just a lot of just like terrible ways of dealing with situations that could have been, ended more amicably, I would say. But honestly, I wouldn't say I became less naive because I'm still pretty naive now. But it was just definitely a lot of learning, a lot of maturing, a lot of experiences that I just didn't think would happen that happened. So,
and with that, don't be afraid to fail. Perfection is overrated. Stop trying to be perfect. Learn from everything you do. Learn from every experience. High school is a great time to learn because although there is a lot of stress and pressure, you don't have the pressure of the adult world. Like you can fail in high school and even when you get to college, and there's no real repercussions. Not in terms of like, oh my gosh, I might lose my house, my car. Like, come on now. You get the chance to change careers, change pursuits, change passions, and invest in different things and create new friendships, pursue new relationships.
Actually, I thought about this earlier, like this week. I was just like, when I was in high school and when I was in college, like I just spent so much time, like, worrying about like X, Y, and Z. I never like lived in the moment. So I think that's like an important thing to do. It's just like when you're in high school, like you're young, enjoy the moment, have fun, spend time with friends. Because as we said, like these things don't last forever.
I would like to take time to shout out all my high schoolers out there who are the backbone of their family, who are working, who are taking on that adult responsibility. Though this episode has been catered towards the people that don't necessarily have to go through that, but I do know there's an entire demographic of people that are having to go to school and take care of their family. And a lot of this advice, hopefully it's helpful, but might not be necessarily the easiest to apply in your situation. So I just want to, recognize them for real, because that's a whole nother world.
It's a fact. And for those who don't have to do that, enjoy the journey. Don't rush to grow up. Trust me. Enjoy it.
I think we could all say don't rush to grow up at all.
Literally that. Trust me. You look back and you just are so much more thankful, taking things for granted. Like, man, I wish I had a job. You want a job to go buy food, to go spend it on, things that don't even matter versus having to have a job to survive. It's just a completely different perspective on why you even work. So, yeah, I would say definitely don't rush the process of growing up, because you'll look back and be like, dang, what was I doing? What was I thinking? Where did the time go?
You have your whole life to be an adult. Trust.
Trust.
And with that said, that's another episode of our Found a Friend podcast. Thank you guys for tapping in. And if you was looking for a friend, you found one.
Peace.
Deuces.